What's up, y'all? Dave Kanjo, and today I'm here with 24/7 HH for the King Beat series. All right, y'all, and here's Tashamby's track Either Way. So Sham and I made this track back in the summer of 2017. Sham's actually a homie. We go way, way back. We went to school together. So for this track, this is actually going back. So this was before. Now I'm an FL Studio user, and back then there wasn't FL on Mac yet. So I was actually, this is an Ableton cookup, and back when I was cooking up in Ableton, I was using a lot of native instruments and a lot of other things that I really don't use anymore. And it's fun to look back at this record right now because it shows that like things change. Like my setup's always been the same. I've always just used my mouse, you know, plug up my keyboard, if I even bring that, and just cook up. A lot of times when I was learning how to cook up or just learning production early on, I was in the classroom. So a lot of times I didn't want to bring everything because I already had a notebook and everything else out. And it's crazy to think like how much of this goes back to like why I was actually doing what I did. Like I could go hammer out on MP or do whatever I got to do, and you know, keyboards, drum machines, but this thing's more important to me. I'm more efficient. And it's fun because it's like just switching up DAWs. Like that was the only thing I ever really had to deal with. Like I could do this I used to do this on the train. I used to do it everywhere. Like, and it'd be nuts. It's crazy to think now I'm just back at the crib doing it, or in a studio doing it. But like around this time, like I was on the move constantly. So one thing I wanted to do with this track that's a little different than most of my productions that I actually have released is I wanted to use toms. So the use of toms, I thought of like Pharrell's Mr. Me Too. Pharrell's a big influence on me, and I definitely want to take it that route just for the sake of it. You know, like I'm a hip hop dude at the end of the day. The use of my taikos here, something that is also really big on me, or a big influential project, was Kanye West's 808s and Heartbreak. Taiko is actually a Japanese drum that you don't really hear a lot too much in any type of contemporary hip-hop, or even when Ye dropped that project, it was definitely something brand new. Something that stuck out to me about it was just like the texture of that drum. Like again, like I'm a fan of toms, and then like hearing something like the Taiko, it was something different, and it in the sense that I used it, it was a very similar drum or similar pattern and similar arrangement. So I just like that bounce. It gave this a track a way different feel than I have with a lot of my other ones. All right, yeah. So like with the 808 on this one, I take it back to Mr. Me Too again. Like I really wanted to go for that sonically distorted, but it still hits. A lot of times with distorted 808s, what I find missing in the game is a lot of your 808 starts losing body. But something to counteract that, and which was I was able to learn from mixing, was that like just layer it with a cleaner 808. So over here I got like 3 808s lined up, and they're all like processed just slightly different. Like right here would be the dirty one. I got it nice and low right now, but I'll bring it up just for y'all to feel it. Then bring that back down. And then here I got another one being distorted differently, giving it like kind of like a pingy feel. And then that bottom one would just be the body. You know, get a little bit of thump and still feel that distorted taste that it's rattling the trunk even at 2. And then one thing that I came from a school of was like your snares got snapped. Like if those snares don't crack over your head, or you don't feel like you're getting hit in the head with that snare, like that ain't no snare. So here I got like 3 different snares going, all the same one, just processed differently, just like the 808s. And then with one of them, I just left a little bit of an echo just to give it some of that space, because a lot of times you don't want you can have something hit like that, but if it's dry, that's gonna wear you out, especially hearing that for 3 minutes. And then I talk a lot about 808s and heartbreaks, and another big thing that was in that, aside from Tycho's, were toms. Man, like here I wanted just my toms to go crazy. Like a track that I really enjoyed growing up was Kanye West's Say You Would, and like there, like that's what always stuck out to me with that track, was just the way the toms hit. Like if anybody hears it, they're gonna know it. And like it got to the point that even Drake has a record on it. It moves people, that beat, and I feel like the toms are so foundational to that beat that it's resonated with generations. It's resonated with 2 already, and I feel like it's just gonna keep going. And then more on like the 808s and heartbreaks, my Tycho work. The Tycho drums are something that like I just really enjoy. They sound so different. It was something that again came from 808s and heartbreak, and there it was just that whole thing. Like they always talk about how that project changed it made a generation, and I can attest to that. Not so much in the artistry, not so much in like, hey, like hear me rapping, hear me on auto-tune and all that stuff. It's like, no, watch me do this. Everybody talks about it. It's still something. Everybody 808 heartbreaks. You know, you hear it from Trav, you hear it from Kid Cudi, you know, you hear it from Drake, you hear it from a lot of people. And you know, here's a producer saying it if we need another stamp on it. And then like here, just I had the Tychos going the same way that the toms were hitting, just, and then just leaving space for that snare. One thing that I really do try to do on my drums is make sure that there's space for everything. Like it's cool to have the craziest drums and like just go crazy. Like I firmly believe in like hat rolls and, you know, doing everything that everybody does, like all your tricks. It's all fair game, but you know, make sure it sits right. Like that was one thing that I was able to learn being on the mixing side of things, was that a lot of times I'd have producers or even artists like tell me like, hey, like cut that out, like take that out of here, you know, I like that, but I don't want that here because I'm spitting this. So just having the idea of like how to create space or make space to take and give away, because there's some parts that hit more often than others. And a lot of times learning everything, it came to me in the sense of that, again, I was doing a lot of editing, I was doing a lot of mixing. Like, you know, I'm looking at sessions, I'm looking at where drums are, where drums are supposed to hit, you know, are they eighth notes, you know, are they hitting everything? You know, music theory went big into that, but even just basic music theory, because to be honest with you, like I didn't learn any of this till about the age of 20. Like you know, in school, growing up, I took my gen eds and I did everything. I did everything a kid was supposed to. But one thing that was always fun to me was general music, because I got to talk about things I actually liked. And that was when I was able to talk about like being, you know, music in the sense of this, like records. I was able to share records with the class. I was able to talk about what I liked, you know, talking about different timbres, different keys. And so I guess I really didn't start this at 20, and I didn't know it when I was 7-8 years old, that, you know, here I was, basically what I've grown up to learn is an A&R. Here I've been deconstructing records since I was 7-8 years old. I had the luxury of the fact that my whole lunch table still raps, you know, still produces. I've known these guys since 5th, 6th grade. All that stuff turns into a very foundational, you know, you telling your friends that their stuff's whack, and then, or, you know, that it's dope, or like, oh man, you've done better than this, and being able to just go back and forth with them, like, yo, this is dope, like, yo, fix this, I like how you did this, like, yo, I thought about this in a different track, or remember when you did this in a different track, I think that would fit better in this track. And a lot of that, it's crazy to think, like, even at the youngest age, I didn't know it, like, I didn't know what I was doing. You know, people would always tell me, like, oh dude, like, we bring David to the studio, it's like, David don't do nothing, like, what did he do? He just talks shit, like, that's all he's gonna do. He's like, he's just gonna talk shit the whole time, like, we don't want him here. And then people would be like, no bro, you don't understand, like, he's telling you what you need to fix. He's like, he's just a real ass ear. He's like, that's what was able to like really get me into the studios, and like even makes me super honest with myself. It's just the fact that, like, yo, if I had to say this to somebody else, Like, what am I gonna say? Not to say that like I'm an asshole and be like, oh, it sucks, but nah, like a lot of times, especially in the early stages, the fact that I was a little bit behind the rappers and other producers was a blessing, because they knew they could be honest with me and I knew what they were looking for. When I made this track, I was actually like in a state of mind of hitting a melody first. Some days I do like to hit drums. It's very subjective subject, and it's very situational based. But myself, I do like to do melody typically first. And with this track, I actually was like, I was in a roll that day. I must have knocked out like 5-6 tracks. So I was just at the point where I started challenging myself. I have a couple artist friends, and I was just like, okay, cool. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go ahead and this one's for Sham. Like that's literally what I told myself. I was like, this one's for Sham. And at the time, what I was doing was I was using a lot of not even Bart Simpson, but the entire Simpsons cast. What I was doing to my friends at the time was I throw some art that I find on the internet. Like I Google like cool Bart, cool Homer. Like I remember one track that is probably still out somewhere. It was called Flamin' Homer, and it was literally, the art was Homer Simpson making the Flamin' Homer. So with this track, I actually used Bart Simpson in pink. So like a shout out to Cameron. So it was super dope to me, and I was like, okay, like this is all going in Sham's favor, like cool. And then like the vibe I want to give, I tried to go for was just like a really cool vibe, a lot of slick talking, especially, you know, trying to rock the pink. And like lucky for me, like Sham's just that kind of dude where everything just fit. And working with him, and just before this I was already his engineer, so I had probably put in about 10 records worth of work with him. And with that, we were just able to run with it. Like that's one thing me and Sham are able to do, is just like, hey, like I'm feeling like this, 5 minutes, go. Like, you know, feeling like this. And a lot of Tashamby and I sessions are just me making beats and then him just sitting there writing. And then like when he tells me that he hits a beat, he's just like, all right, stop. And then this one, I was actually a little different because I was by myself, and then I mixed it down the next day. I went home on it, and then I sent it to him, and he was like, bro, I gotta come in today. So like I left work that day, and we went straight into the studio, just tracked it, we cut it, and then from there, let's see, it was about a week turnaround. We cut it, he mixed it a little bit, he sat on the performance, see what he liked, see what he didn't like, and then we went into this. We came back in, knocked it out, and yeah, this was one of the wonderful times where our record's done in a week. So with Sham, it's nice because it's like, I know Sham enough to where I know when he's excited, and you know, like everybody gets text messages like, yo, that's dope. Like, hey, like I like that, that's cool. But when Sham's really excited, he, instead of a standard text message, he ends up hitting voice memo, and he just records it. And I just remember he was like, bro, I need that, and he's like, I need you tonight. He's like, I need that tonight. What time you out of work? Like, I'll be there. And we ended up catching up like 8:30. It's crazy to think too, cause like that was one of those times where I had already known that it was gonna be good, and like I had already just had that energy was already towards the record, where it was like, okay, like this is gonna be dope, this is gonna be great. And when I did that, it was able to go straight to Sham, and in my head I'm like, okay, he's just gonna like it, so I'm just waiting for him to open it. And then like clockwork, I got that voice memo. On this track, I went with like a super minimal approach with the melody wise. Like it's just one pad, and then I'm just hitting the chords a couple times. I had two different chords. Really, that's it. Like around this time, like my bread and butter was just chords, quick little pads, ride the beat, and go crazy with the drums, or like just try to make your statement in the drums. And with an artist like Sham, where I know like he don't want too much going on. He wants to be the melody, and that's just how Sham is. Where he's, you know, like whether it's with or without auto tune, like he's gonna ride it. As a whole, the whole squad's working hard. Everybody's been able to group up in the last couple months, and it's like the most beautiful thing about music is just the fact that like, yo, you could be away for it forever. What can feel like forever, and then like the minute it comes back, it just you feel rejuvenated, like you never had it, or like you're trying it for the first time. and it's just like the sense of magic that gets created in that air when everybody's on the same page, just off the charts. Like nowadays I'm all FL, but this I cooked up in Ableton, and to be honest, like everybody always has like that DAW battle, like who does this, who does that, and it really it's all you, bro. And like that's really where the blessing of just using a mouse has came in. Like I'm so on the go, and like it's just as simple as clicking around. I was able to do that anywhere. And then being an engineer, I understood how a workstation's supposed to, you know, work. So with that, like the learning curve wasn't too bad. Like really when I switched over to FL, like I spent some time and just like, okay, this is how I cooked up in Ableton, and a lot of it stood the same. I just did it the FL way, and that's just really blessed to be able to just like adapt to these workstations. You know, some people stay in one workstation forever, and like that's cool and all. And I'm in a point where maybe I do that too, in the sense of creation, where I might be in FL forever, but you never know, there might be something else that comes out. And like that's the greatest thing about technology. You know, it's all about adapting. Like producers couldn't do it this way. Like if I could go back in time and like go to a beat making contest and, you know, drop a laptop and they're like, where's your drum machine? And I just click my mouse twice. They're just gonna look at me like I'm crazy. Really, with a lot of my beats, I keep melodies pretty simple. I'm super heavy drum guy. Like if you really dig deep into like catalogs like Pharrell, Timbo, like yes, they go crazy on synths and they're amazing at making melodies, but they also can make a loop and throw crazy drums on it and just change up the drums every once in a while and go, hey, here it is. You know, everybody knows grinding. Everybody knows Mr. Me Too. Mr. Me Too was huge on me. It was at a time where I was in middle school, and at the time I was actually skateboarding, and like where I lived, I was actually living in Indiana, and like over there it was like if you were skateboarding and you were weird, but I was like, no, bro, I ain't weird. Like I ain't weird. Like I like Pharrell's my guy. And like I remember even like that was like MySpace days, and like I even did like a little skate video at like 13 with Mr. Me Too in the back, like for the whole 3 minutes. Pharrell's work's just crazy, man. Like his sound selection, I definitely can like that's something I can relate to. Like even as a kid, like I was a gamer, so I'm like, yo, that sounds like something you hear like the PlayStation starting up. You know, there's a lot of video game sounds in, I wouldn't say video game sounds in Pharrell, but like there's a lot of what I would feel like I'm in a video game. At the essence of what we do, we're trying to capture y'all imagination. So when we capture y'all imagination, it's gonna resonate some way. And if it hits you with a video game, it hits you with a video game. You know, it can hit you with whatever, but like our job is to hook y'all in. The good part about when you're an engineer first is you already know you can make drum slap. It gives you confidence. I was already mixing. I was mixing beats for producers. I was mixing entire tracks for artists. You know, the work may be different. I was doing work for podcasting already. Just little things like that. So it gave me the ear, and it gave me like, okay, like I know what I want, and that's how it has to end up sounding. And in that sense, like a lot of times where a lot of producers fall off early, or like they kind of lose their little sauce, they get in this sense where they're like, man, like, okay, like I know this sounds good, but it's like it don't sound good when you export it, when you get in that car. No sense of mixing it. And it's just from an exposure standpoint. The more you do it is the more you know. Me being able to be in a position where even when I first started making beats, I was already thinking like record-wise. It really made it different because I'm already thinking about records. It gives you the confidence to be able to look at people and go, yeah, like, yo, this is it. Like this is me. That was huge, just being able to be like, yo, this is me. And like early on, like you always hear like, oh, your melodies weren't great, but like your drums are good. And like that was a big thing for me. If I could walk away from every session like, yo, your drums are dope, I was always happy as hell to hear that like drums, like if drums were good, it was perfect. Like I'd even look at the comments when I used to get homework, like drums good, It's like, whatever, cool, you said drums are good, and like that's the basis of a record. By like nowadays I'm just working on that studio and then working on myself. In terms of content, like we're just doing all SoundCloud right now. We're probably just gonna do it all under the studio's page, which is just gonna be The Drip. Studio's name is gonna be The Drip. URL, or like where you could catch us, would be, you know, The Drip CHI. So The Drip Shy is where you're gonna be able to catch like all the new music. That's where Dante's project just dropped. Any future releases will be found on that page. Like, you know, right now I'm also still on Dave Kanjo. That's where you could catch either way, would be soundcloud.com/Dave Kanjo. Or even if you go to Tashamby's page, it's on, that would be /The Real Sham God.